Now, welcome to another Andor video. News from Naboo is on hold because there is no news, and we didn't feel like scraping the bottom of the barrel and trying to get you to watch something that really wasn't all that newsworthy.
Correct.
Yeah, so this we'll call an editorial News from Naboo edition.
Yeah, we're going to talk today that's going to have some Andor in it, obviously. It's going to be a little bit of supposition about what could be coming in Andor, some breadcrumbs they've laid out, and some story pieces that, if you picked up in other shows, could lead to some really horrific things that they might put on the screen for Andor, which could be interesting.
Well, yeah, it could be horrific. It's going to be sad one way or another.
It's going to be sad.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a little bit of factual, a little bit of legends, and we'll definitely tell you where the line is in between those.
There's always a little truth in legends, as Ahsoka once said.
We know
should be a little bit
they
more.
Borrow from legends, so
should borrow a little more from it, or should have. But hey, so spoilers for Andor in this video, kind of obviously.
We're going to talk about the Gorman.
Sounds good.
We are aware that Mon Mothma, over and over again, has been complaining about the Gorman. 5BBY, we know that individuals like Ars Dagnor and Slimore have cut off the Gorman shipping lanes, which Mon Mothma is super against, because she was mad at Perrin for inviting them because they're fighting her on this issue.
Yes.
And she's worried that this is going to lead to famine because they are no longer in their shipping lanes. I mean, their planet is located in the galactic, the colonies area along the Rima trade route, and they've just been, cut out of their shipping lanes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good.
I think that you said she's been complaining about the Gorman like she's the bad guy.
No,
yeah,
she's been complaining about the injustice to the Gorman people, that they could literally starve. And so far, that's kind of been a background thing. We're like, oh, there she is campaigning for something. We haven't really thought about it too much until we realized we've heard of the Gorman before in canon.
In canon, yeah.
In
Not
canon.
just in Legends or an old book, perhaps.
Right, in canon.
Old role-playing book, yeah.
She was in Season 3 episode, it was Secret Cargo.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
The Mon Mothma episode,
The Mon Mothma episode. And at the beginning of it, she gives a speech. And she says in it, I name the Emperor himself for ordering the brutal attacks on the people of Gorman. Their peaceful world is one of countless systems helpless under his oppressive rule.
Yeah, and in Legends, basically Tarkin lands a Star Destroyer on some Gormans, right?
Yeah, like you said, in Legends, Tarkin
drops a ship on him.
Well, in Legends, it happened earlier, too. It happened in, 18 BBY. In an anti-tax demonstration, the citizens had, a peaceful protest when Tarkin was going to come and, land his ship at the place. Hundreds of Gormans stood on the landing pad to block him. Then Palpatine gave his nod of approval, and Tarkin landed on them, crushing them. And this Gorman massacre led directly to, the creation of the Alliance to restore the Republic. And after the massacre, Mon Mothma denounced Emperor Palpatine as a murderous despot, formally starting the Rebel Alliance. We see some of that in Rebels. We see her renouncing, resigning from the Senate and issuing a call to arms to actually bring the rebellion together, to all those little cells, the splinter cells, where she's calling them into action.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because, her family wasn't on the cargo ship to help her escape either.
Nope.
So I'm wondering, are we going to see the massacre at Gorman?
I think so. I mean...
Will he land a ship on him, or were they just going to mow him down? Who knows? But
well, it's going to be something pretty horrific. I think it'll be even more horrific than... as weird as it sounds, than Tarkin dropping a ship on them. I mean, it'll probably be full-on extermination.
And it's going to be a call to arms. Will she, though, see the signs coming, distance herself from her family ahead of time? Because her family's not with her. She goes on the run without them.
The other way around, yeah. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen there. It could be the other way around, that the family distances themselves from her. It could be she has to leave them behind, and to what fate she doesn't even know.
I mean, will they even show this on screen, or will they think, well, there's enough information between Rebels and the blurbs about the Gormans at the beginning to not even bother? Or is that such a key pivotal moment that we will go there? And will we get a CGI Tarkin for it?
I think you have to go there. I think you do. I mean, we are telling her story. It would be so weird to leave out this very pivotal moment in her... I mean, going from trying to fight in the Senate for whatever that's been worth to going to leader of the Rebel Alliance, or kind of the founder of it in that moment. How you would be able to leave that out of the series would make no sense whatsoever. But then again, we do know that season 2 is going to be 4 different kind of arcs.
It's going to be a year per,
Yeah, per 3 episodes. So it could be something you do leave out, I guess.
And this happens in like 2 BBY.
Yeah.
So that would be what, the third arc?
Yeah, so if they're going year by year.
It's supposed to be year by year.
So the last one leads right into Rogue One, so who knows exactly how they're going to... It's probably not going to be like a perfect, like 1 year encapsulated followed by another year encapsulated. It'll be something a little more messy, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, and that also means we could see the Ghost in live action and her crew, because they came to Mon Mothma's ship to refuel them, and then the ship came under fire, an Imperial attack. They all ended up boarding the Ghost, and she helped them escape, and they actually transmitted her call to arms from the Ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which could mean the whole Ghost team wasn't there. Chopper, Hera, Zeb, and Ezra were.
Yeah.
But
no Sabine and Kanan, yeah.
No, they offered to do a supply run or something. They were busy.
It was their day off.
But the fact that this horrific event could happen and we could see it on screen, for someone like Tony Gilroy, who's like, yeah, I didn't bring in Star Wars people, he knew to mention the Gormans. He knows what he's doing, and they mentioned them on purpose. They could have mentioned anything that she's fighting for in the Senate, any off-kilter planet, but they went with a planet very specifically tied to something that happened in Rebels. That they mentioned the Gorman Massacre, something from Legends that was a huge turning point.
Yeah, well, I don't think he wants to like disrespect the lore, right?
No,
he doesn't want to come in and
disrespect.
change. Yeah, no, I'm not saying you're implying that, but I mean, I think a lot of people read his comments and they were like, "Wow, he just doesn't care. He's going to do his own thing." No, I think he wants his story to fit into Star Wars. Just because you're not a huge Star Wars fan or whatever you want to call him before this, I'm sure he's a pretty big fan now. But I mean, I don't think he wants to come in and not tell a story that makes sense. I mean, maybe you see that elsewhere in other franchises.
Right. I'm just interested in the fact that they picked the Gormans, because they could have picked any planet that he was oppressing, but they picked one that directly ties into a message she gives later.
Well, I mean, if he goes to a Pablo Hidalgo and says, is there a specific like moment in the history that we can point to that was kind of the turning point? Like, I mean, Pablo is a huge fan of the old school role playing games, so he's probably like, well, there is this this moment in the old games and the old books, and it gets explored in a few other places that maybe you can use. And he's like, okay, that works.
Yeah,
I mean, it's that simple. Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of cooperation I think we've all kind of wanted, and borrowing from Legends when it makes sense and can enhance the story. I mean, these are the things we want, right? As a fan, or at least I do.
It doesn't, like I said though, it makes me very concerned about the future of her family.
Well, something has to go wrong.
They don't escape with her. She's escaped alone.
Yeah. Unless they retcon Rebels, which doesn't make any sense because it seems like you're setting that up. And if you retcon Rebels, a major event in Rebels, like the actual like declaration of the Rebel Alliance, like what is the point of a shared universe anymore, right?
Well, and she also mentioned in Rebels this is the first time she's been on the run, so now I know that the banking thing's going to go okay in a way.
Well, yeah. Well,
she's going to
know.
Get herself out of that.
Yeah.
But this is her first time on the run. Her family would have to go in hiding too because they aren't the ones who expose her. She exposes herself. Yeah. She calls the Empire out. She calls the Emperor,
So that means she either...
So we have to figure, either she distances herself from her family, they distance themselves from her, or she goes on the run separate from them.
Yeah, we have to figure she either knows they're going to be safe, or they already are separated, or she doesn't care.
I think they have to already be separated to kind of cast suspicion off of themselves.
Yeah.
And she might be the instigator of that. She might force this because she has to protect them. She might see the deeper she goes, the further she has to get from them.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard.
I think that's what she's learning here at the end of season 1. Like, there's, the closer I am to somebody, the more weaknesses I kind of have, right? Mm-hmm. The more people that I really care about that are going to get hurt.
Then she'll turn into a Luthen where she sells her soul.
I don't know if she'll become that, but yeah, I know what you're saying. But that's kind of the position she's in, where she's kind of faced with this choice of kind of giving her daughter to the cause in the kind of roundabout way.
Yeah, so when we see her in Rogue One, she is already on the run. She is already wanted by the Empire, and she's in hiding.
Yeah, she has made her declaration, which, I mean, it's interesting. I wonder if she, like, stood up in the Senate and said that, and they didn't want to...
Or she just recorded a message and sent it to him?
Yeah, I mean,
because if she did it in front of them, they would have arrested her on the spot.
You think they would arrest her on the spot, but then...
I think she transmitted this message.
But if they do that at the same time, any illusion of there being any sort of democracy left, that it's not just a true dictatorship, I think that illusion kind of washes away if she says, I disagree with what the Emperor's done, and then they arrest her and...
Or they're just
do away with her.
It's weird though because they're just trying to paint her in a bad light because when we see this, the ghost is watching the HoloNet and it's like an Imperial news story that they play the transmission of her calling the Emperor these horrible things.
Yeah, like I mean that could be the result of not really, to be completely fair and honest, not really thinking the whole thing through at the time. We have a 22-minute episode of Rebels, and we can't really go into Mon's backstory, so she makes this declaration, and we don't think about why and how she made it and why the Empire would broadcast it. It's just it needed to happen for the episode.
Right, and they wanted the people of her ship who were helping her escape, her Senate attaché and everything, were trying to get her to Chandrila to go into hiding. And then she ended up on the Ghost and went to a rendezvous point and broadcast another message and called the Alliance to her.
Yeah, and they showed up. Mm-hmm. Ta-da.
Ta-da, here we are. Showed up.
Yeah.
We're going to fight.
Yeah, and we know in Rogue One is kind of the solidifying moment of the rebellion or the Rebel Alliance, I should say.
It's really their coming out party. They're no longer in the shadows at all.
Well, I mean, it's also the point where they're like, we all have to kind of commit. They all, with Scarif, we're like, this is it. We're either going to make our big move or we're just going to sit here in the shadows and pretend we're some kind of alliance that's really doing something. Mm-hmm. And that's when they start getting some wins, too. Until the Empire Strikes Back. Big loss.
You're so lame.
But no, I mean, I think we're going to see something along these lines in season 2, right? This has to be dealt with. I don't know how in depth it'll go, but it's such a turning point for Mon Mothma and the Rebel Alliance and this story they're telling.
And the story is about her too, so they have to cover something where she's escaped.
Yeah, so
they may not go into the full details. You might just hear that Mon Mothma is on the run or Mon Mothma escaped, but
we might see that same kind of transmission in another story arc. The story arc might not be about her, and then we'll get this transmission about a senator who's,
maybe that brings Andor to her.
Could be.
We could be following an Andor storyline, and he sees the transmission, and they go.
Could be. I definitely think one way or another it will be covered in season 2.
I think it has to at least get a mention, a passing nod.
Yeah,
it's too big of a point in her story when she actually.
Yeah, because why set up this character? Why set up the family? Why set up all these things if you're just gonna ignore it in season 2?
They could just literally end with that moment with her just leaving and going on the run and us assuming she'll be okay.
Yeah, and we do know they are aware of what happened in Rebels by using, as you point out, it's too random to be random for them to be talking about the Gormans in Cassian or Andor here.
Yes, they're talking about him in Andor because of the fact that she gave the speech in Rebels.
Yes, so they are aware of it and they know that has to be worked in, and they're probably going to work it in and deal with it, which is cool.
So it's foreshadowing.
Yes.
Wow.
I know. Storytelling. Amazing. But anyway, I think that's all we got for you this time. So hopefully you enjoyed the little editorial edition of News from Naboo. Again, not much going on in the world of Star Wars news, so figured why not talk about something else Star Wars.
Something crazy will break while we recorded this.
I know. They're going to be like, dude, how did you guys missed it? But anyway, take to the comments below. Tell us what you thought, or tell us what you think, and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.